Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Abusia Formema Akwaba Beam Eba me channel isu. If you are watching me today, please just stay connected and subscribe. If you have already subscribed, just give me a like. If this is your first time visiting, please kindly join our family and we'll have a fruitful discussion. Now, today we are going to look at something special. In my previous videos, I told you that I am going to talk about some of the likely interview questions that they used to ask. By then, sorry for the inconvenience, I couldn't upload that video earlier on, and today I am here to brief you on that, so please just follow me carefully. Now, regards to the interview, we are going to talk about some of the tips that they mostly ask. Most of you have started your interview and you had a lot of experiences or concern about some of the questions they used to ask you. But then I am going to also encourage you, those who are yet to go, and brief you on this to take this one serious, because these are most of the likely questions that they've been asking out there, and you need to prepare yourself towards that too. Now, let's look at the interview questions. I am going to categorize this into three and then add one thing which includes the exam as the fourth one, so that I will do other detailed interview questions in another video to come soon. Now, let me start with some of the things that they used to ask. When I categorize these interview questions, they can ask you what personal questions, which include behavioral questions, or maybe a lifestyle questions. That is based on yourself. They can ask you to tell them something about yourself. I will give you example of that and then explain to you how to respond to questions like that. The next thing they can also ask you is to ask you questions relating to your electives. That is the course that you do at your secondary school time. The third one too they can ask is to ask you what is happening new in the country. If you're in Ghana, what is happening new? Wherever you are, what is happening new? I am simply talking about what current affairs, which most of you are aware about that. Now, the fourth one that I will be talking about is going to be the exams. Schools that write what exams? Schools that write exams, what type of questions and how do you respond to such before you enter for your exam. So that is how it is. Now, let me start with the personal questions or the behavioral questions. Yes, or questions concerned about your lifestyle. Now, example of this question is number one, they can ask you to tell them about yourself, So now, if they ask you to tell them about yourself, you should thank God for that, because these are questions that most of you don't expect. You seem it to be a simple question, so you think that they will not ask you. Let me tell you that you need to take this serious. You need to know how to describe yourself very, very well in a presentable manner. Now, if they ask you to tell them about yourself, there are things that they require you to tell them. So let me brief you on that. I know most of you already have knowledge about this. By then, let me add something small which might help you. So, when they ask you to tell them about yourself, these are the things they need you to tell them. They need you to tell them your name. You can't start to introduce or maybe to tell about yourself without telling them your name. You have to tell them your name. You have to tell them the age. Your age. That is what I mean. You have to also tell them where you are coming from, the region. Which region are you coming from? Is it Upper West Asante region or wherever it is? So now, the other thing is that you see, these are what basic and what the most standard something tips that you should tell them about yourself. Now, to throw more light into what telling them about yourself, you have to tell them about your educational background. So where did you start school and where did you end? What is the last institution that you left? What is the course you offer? What course did you offer then? So this is simple. What I mean is that you can tell them the primary school that you completed, where you moved to your JSS school. You can also tell them the name of the school. Your success in your BEC examination give you the opportunity to go to secondary school. So you can tell them the course that you offered in your secondary school. By then, that is the time you were there. What course did you offer? And were you successful? So you just tell them something about that. So this is most of the basic things that they ask concerning about to tell them about yourself. There are more other things that you might decide to add. Maybe telling them the things you like doing, the things you don't like doing. That is I'm talking about your hobbies or something like that. But these ones are just other things, but they are not necessary. What matters most is that you should be able to tell them a standard in a presentable manner about yourself. Which I just told you. Tell them about your what, your name, tell them your age, tell them where you are coming from. Also tell them your educational background. How have you been through your education, from where to where and where to here. So you can tell them something about that. Don't forget to tell them the course that you offered at your secondary school level. So this is a brief trip concern about that. Let me take you to maybe questions that relate to your elective. That is the course that you offered at your secondary school time. Let me brief you on that. Most of you are getting too stressed and overstressed about this type of questions. Let me ask you, you have been to school for 3 years. Do you think it was easy and you want to use 1 month and learn about 4 elective courses? It is not possible. You cannot learn all. What it means is that when they ask you a question relating to your elective, they'll be asking you something relating to your environment that maybe you can respond. They will not go and ask you to maybe give them the chemical formula for something or something like that. You know, though some schools, they can go far to ask you something like that. They can just ask you to tell them the chemical formula. That is when you refer to chemistry, they can ask you to tell them the chemical formula or maybe of a particular compound or something like that. So it's there like that. But then it is not mostly. These are just things that you need to sometimes ignore and concentrate on what? Vital things. So most of you will be stressing yourself to be learning alpha, beta, and those things in your chemistry, which is too stressed. They don't need this. They just need to ask you something, how it relates to your what, the profession that you are trying to go. So that is quite simple. Now, if they ask you questions relating to your electives, you need to sit down, think, and then reason and respond to them. It doesn't mean that if you didn't get it right, that is all, you don't have any opportunity again. No. You might even enter to the interview hall, you might not be able to answer a single question correct, but due to the confidence you use in attempting all the questions, who even give them the opportunity to gain you admission. So that is how it is. That is how it is. So don't get too stressed. Now, let me talk about current affairs. What comes to mind when we talk about current affairs? Current affairs is just simple about what? What is happening in your country? What is happening new? What is trending? What is the currency? Let me take you back to 2019. By then, COVID-19 was a pandemic. Then it was what? Trending in the country and all over the world. Which was what? Very serious. That means people were talking about it. So this is an example of what? A current affairs. So by then, in your current year, 2022, let's use that example. What is happening new? What conditions are going? So you just need to what? Sit down, use your phone, go to social media, and get some what? Information about what is happening. Now let me brief you on this. This matters most. Coming to look at the ministers of your country. Now they can ask you to tell them maybe their names, and that doesn't mean that they'll ask you to tell all the ministers' names. No. They can just ask you of 1 or 2 particular ministers for their names. They can ask you to tell them 2 female ministers in the country or 2 male ministers in the country. Or maybe they can ask you the name of the Minister of what? Agriculture or the Ministry of Health. These are questions they used to ask. So you don't need to stress. So you need to know this so that you're able to what? Respond to questions relating to the ministers. Now, when we come to your constituency or maybe your region, they can ask you of your regional minister. Let me assure you of that. They can ask you of your regional minister, not their regional minister. Where you are coming from is where they are asking you about. So when they ask you of your regional minister, you should be able to tell them. They can ask you of what? The name of the DEC, that is the district chief executive of your constituency or maybe your community. That is how it is. They can ask you to tell them the name of the assemblyman of your community. It's just simple as that. It's not something stressful. These things you need to know. You can't be in a community, in a constituency, in a region without knowing some of the names of the ministries that are found in your region or your. So these are things that you're supposed to know. If they ask you to tell them the name of the member of parliament of your constituency, this one too, do you need to get stressed to answer to them? This is to be simple for you. Good. Now, this is current affairs. So you need to do more research about what current affairs. Let me talk about the exams. By then, let me remind you of this type of question before I forgot, before we proceed to the exams aspect. Now, if they ask you to tell them, they can just ask you, you look good, gentleman. Maybe you look handsome, or maybe if a lady you look what? Beautiful. In fact, you look so cute. By then, going to the university to become a secretary or maybe a bank manager, this should have fit you. It should have been nice for you. So why don't you go to the university to offer other valuable courses but come into nursing? When they ask you a question like this, do you need to stress yourself? Sometimes it is a scenario, but then you have to sit down, think and reason and be able to respond to the question. When they ask you a question like this, it is simple. Let me tell you something. And after telling you this, you start smiling because you got to realize that it is a simple question. When they ask you, why didn't you go to the university to become a bank manager or to become a secretary or maybe other to become a politician or something like that? This should be simple. They are simply asking you to tell them why you choose nursing over what other professions. Instead that you are smiling, you are thinking this is over stress or they are stressing you. No, this is simple. You just need to think and then respond. So these are most of the questions they use. They are just trying to see how smart you are, how smart you think, how does you think faster. This is all about interview. Interview doesn't mean that answer questions right and get the right. No, sometimes you might even answer the question wrongly and they'll give you what you want because you are strong. Let me encourage you on this. I must tell you this one. You have to take note that they are expecting some qualities from you when you are at the interview center. One thing you have to know is that they are expecting your confidentiality level, how confident you are, how do you talk? Do you talk with boldness or do you have the courage? Sometimes you need to respond questions vehemently. That is, you need to talk to them in such a way that it means that you are really strong or you are bold. Being strong is different from what? Talking anyhow. Remember these two things. You need to talk strong and boldly and confidentially, but it should be what? Intelligent and reasonable ideas that you are giving to them. So take note of this thing. Let me quickly brief you on the exams and we will end this video. I will continue with some questions in my next video so that you have idea or knowledge about this before you enter. Now, coming to your question aspect, that's the exams. It's simple. They can just ask you to maybe, if they ask you to write a mathematics, it is going to be a basic questions that you should be able to even think and then what? Write. English language is something that when they mention something about English, why should you stress yourself? You have to just understand that they are talking about what? Maybe essay 1 or 2 essay questions which you can what? Respond. And by then, they will not even ask you more than one. If they ask you to write a letter to the Ministry of Health, concern of maybe some of the concerns that you think it can help promote health system or so it's just simple. You should be able to think and write. When they ask you question, maybe write an article for publication on the what? The effects of drugs abuse to the what? Young people in your country. This one, at least, is what? It's a related and environmental question. You have to sit down, think, and be able to what? Respond to them. So this is quite reasonable and okay. So by then, you have to what? Be serious. You have to take note of what? Detailed points. You have to know how to arrange your letter or your article. It should be what? A well organized and a paragraphist form. So that is how it is. So guys, I wouldn't talk much on this video, but then I would like you to subscribe, like the video, so that in my next video I'll be talking much of what you need, especially the interview questions, so that you'll be able to have a successful interview. Now I am going to wish you all the best. Yes, I am wishing you all the best and most of success, that you shall come out with flying colors, and by the end of the day you are going to gain admission. You come back to my channel and comment on the comment section that I have successfully gained admission. Please don't go and disappoint me. I told you earlier on most of the dressing style that you need to carry on. So please take note of these so that you go gain the admission for us and we will all celebrate together. Thank you for being with me. Abusia for me da mo se pass e mo anya time a mo hwe video aba beduru samre. Minim se de wa hwe abo kakra se de wa hwe no se o problem bi am pacha bra comment section mu na be comment so person me clarify on some things. I'll respond to you on that. So de me here say video a wa hwe se wani age ho am pacha like video no. Se video a wa hwe se wo hwe se abo pa na wa subscribe na ye family baako. Thank you for watching. You can also share this video to your friend or colleague who is somewhere who might also need it. People are somewhere that don't even know what we are talking about. You can help a brother or a sister. Thank you for watching. Stay with me and subscribe to my channel. See you next time in my next video. Bye.